press conference with LFC Women head coach Gareth Taylor ahead of Sunday's WSL clash with West Ham United at St Helens. Mixture of online and in person today, but we'll start online as always with BBC Radio Merseyside and Ian Kennedy. Ian?
Thank you. Hi Gareth. Just before we get into this weekend's match, it was a really nice touch, wasn't it, that Matt Beard has been inducted into the WSL Hall of Fame. A really nice tribute.
Yeah, it was. It's obviously, his spirit lives on. We're still coming to terms with obviously Matt no longer being with us. So for him to have been honoured this soon, says a lot about what he did for the women's game. So yeah, of course, I think it's a nice tribute to him, something that will always remain. And yeah, I think it was a good idea and a good move for the WSL to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming on to the game then, Gareth, first of all, you've had a bit of a break. Is everyone back from that international break okay?
Everyone's back. Yeah, pretty much. I think that we unfortunately had an issue with Martha Thomas, which was the Tuesday after the Charlton game, so effectively on the international break. We had a few players obviously remain with us at Melwood, and unfortunately Martha picked up an issue with her foot, which is definitely going to keep her out of the next couple of games. We're hoping to get her back before the end of the season, but of course our season is a little bit open at the minute, particularly with the FA Cup game, so we're kind of hoping that we can extend our season and hopefully get Martha back before then, but it will be quite tight, unfortunately, just because of the nature of the issue. So the medical department have been speaking with Spurs and just trying to get heads together to work out a plan for her. But yeah, like I say, it's definitely going to be missing the next couple of games, unfortunately. Outside of that, pretty much everyone from previous is okay. It's allowed Kerry Holland to be back in contention. And then most of the players on the international break came through. Gemma Bonner is still a little while away, as is Lucy Parry. Sam Kerr's getting that bit closer, and then obviously the long terms are still recovering well and getting that bit closer, and obviously been really nice for them because they're at a point now where they can be back out on pitch with this upturn in the weather that we're having. So it's timed nicely.
Yeah, and for Kerry as well, I mean, she's been in great form to have her potentially available. She's just been nominated for the Fans Player of the Month, so good to have her possibly available for you. Yeah,
definitely. I think she's been key for us. I think since the turn of the year, like I've mentioned previously, I think when you see an upturn in results, when you've seen an upturn in performances, it definitely will be down to the influx of players that we brought in the January. I think what that has done is, whether those guys have played or not played, what they've done is allowed training quality and intensity to be like so much better than what it was before, and then all of a sudden you start to get real competition for places, which unfortunately the first half of the season we didn't have enough of that. We only had it in a couple of positions. So yeah, I think that's been really good, and Kerry's been focal to that. Unfortunately wasn't able to participate in the Charlton game in the quarterfinals, but having had this period with us is looking good for the weekend.
And it's a home game, it's at St Helens, and the form there has been really solid, certainly since the turn of the year. Is that does that underline that everyone's feeling comfortable with surroundings now, and you're really settled into your home?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's still a relatively new home for the club. I think that we really enjoy playing there. We really appreciate our supporters who come week in, week out, because we are on the outskirts for that catchment of obviously Liverpool fans, so we really appreciate our supporters making that journey. I know it's not a huge journey, but it's a journey still, and I think the support has been great for us this season, home and away, and it really feels like a home at St Helens, and we've certainly built on that in this second part of the season. Our objective now is to potentially go back-to-back WSL wins, I think. We had that? I heard that, and I was like, we're not back-to-back? Wow, okay. But only a few months ago we were looking at first win, looking at first away win. Now we're starting to chalk those off. I think it's stepping in the right direction, and like I said previously, I feel a little bit gutted that the season's kind of coming to an end, and we can hopefully extend it, which will be really nice, and because the players deserve a lot of credit for the way that they stuck to the process in difficult circumstances, and now we're starting to see very much the team shaping up the way we wanted it to shape up.
Yeah, and you've got that cup semi-final on the horizon as well. But in terms of this game, West Ham just below you in the table. But in terms of form, you must be really confident, with the results that you've had recently going into this one.
Yeah, I think it was 14 points so far in this turn of the new year. So yeah, I think that's really impressive. I think if you'd have, the form table, we'd be looking in a healthy position. It would have been nice to have had that in the first part of the season, but we weren't able to for various reasons. So now we focus on what we can do moving forward. I like the feel of the group. I think the competition, like I said, is really good. Everybody's training really, really well. Everyone's given good level of focus and application, and that's all you can ask for as a coach, to have those options, to make your selections, and to also have good options from the sidelines, I think is really key.
Thank you, Gareth. Good luck. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks, Ian. And we'll go to Rachel O'Sullivan. Goes on the ball, Rach.
Hi, Gareth.
Hi, Rachel.
We've obviously had a couple of pressers today, and one of the main questions has been asking managers. I mean, I feel some teams probably were glad of the international break in terms of maybe going through a difficult patch. I feel perhaps it was the opposite for you, given the FA Cup, and you probably wanted to then build on that momentum and that excitement.
Yeah, I mean, they come always at the time that they come, and I think I've always been asked, is a good time, bad time? I think if you're in a good run of form, you want to try and continue and capture that. Obviously, if you're not, then it can be a good opportunity to reset. Yeah, I'll be honest, you kind of learn to grow and go with it. These last two that we've had have been different because they've been longer. And I think they've been a positive for us, because I think that we're able to get some work into the players who remain with us. And I think that's really key, because we don't see it as a chance to kind of put our feet up and have a holiday. We make sure players have adequate rest, and certainly that's important because we work physically really hard. But I think it's a real opportunity to get some really good gains, and a case in point would be, Cornelia Capot's, the work that's gone in during that international break that's allowed her to perform to the levels she's performed to. Beata Olsen. Beata's been with the Swedish national team, hasn't been. And in the moments when she hasn't been, although it's been a frustration, she's used it in the right way. And I think her level of application and her mentality is her strongest asset. And I think she's developing really well as a player. She gets her reward in that recent camp by getting her first cap, which was great. So we made sure we celebrated that. And then, you've got the likes of Aurelie Sillag, who's going away on each camp with Switzerland and doing well. Whereas we'd look at it as we want time in the building with these players to help them, to develop them into our way. And I think those players, the likes of Alejandra, Kerry Holland on this one, I think they really benefit from kind of being here and having a real focus on individual work. Of course, I was exactly the same as a player. You wanted to do really well for your clubs, so that in order to be ready and to be selected for international teams is something that each player wants. And we would never want to get in the way of that, but when we see sometimes these players aren't selected, we're a little bit rubbing our hands, because we know we get good opportunities to get some really serious gains.
And just a word on West Ham. I think, early on in the season, while they were creating, they really struggled to actually put the ball in the back of the net. Now, in 2026, I think 25% of their goals have come from outside the box. So they've kind of, I guess, developed a little bit more in terms of where they can shoot from. How do you kind of approach that, defensively, in terms of obviously minimising opportunities in the box, but also knowing that there's that threat as well from outside?
Yeah, I think they've carried that threat all season. I think if you look at the makeup of their team, they play in a pretty specific way, and that's not changed too much with the new coach. But what they will do is try to hurt teams on the counter-attack. They have good players at the top end of the pitch, and I say Iweki and Martinez, really dangerous players that can hurt you. So I think that threat has been there all season. Starting to use it a little bit more now, and being more competitive. So yeah, we're really aware of the threats they carry. But I think for us, it'll always be about how we can gain control of this game as early as we possibly can. We know that that can be a little bit messy in the first 5-10 minutes, and it can go longer if you need to establish a foothold. But once we get that, hopefully, pretty soon, we can start to play our way and start to give them some problems to think about of their own.
And how hard is it to kind of not look ahead too much to the FA Cup? I mean, I imagine it's pretty exciting for everybody in the building, but knowing you've got those WSL games to focus on, but you've got that exciting fixture on the horizon too.
I think it's really easy. I mean, this is pretty unique because normally the FA Cup sits within the season, or certainly the week after the season. So this will obviously feel a little bit strange because we either know that we finish on May 17th against Arsenal at Anfield, or we go 2 weeks later in an FA Cup final, which is where everyone wants to be. I think it's nice for us because really enjoy playing at St Helens, and it's another game for us at St Helens against Brighton in the semi-final, so that's great. And like I say, for us it's, or for me in particular, it's like you don't want the season to end, so we're in a good shape at the moment. We're playing some good football, we're playing competitive football, we're always giving ourselves a real good chance in games, and the girls have worked tremendously hard, and I think the girls would say the same, that they don't want the season to finish because they're just now starting to come into the identity of a team that we always dreamed of. So yeah, focus this game for sure. The WSL is really important for us. We have 3 tough games, 3 different games, and but we'll approach them in the same way and trying to win them and trying to move up that table as much as we can.
Must also feel a bit like just rewards for all the hard work. You know, you had a difficult start to the season, a lot to go through as a team. And I guess with the WSL, you know, if you don't find your footing straight away, you find yourself at the bottom pretty quickly. Whereas, you know, all that hard work now is paid off, I guess. So it must, like, yeah, I guess feel a bit more like just rewards for all that hard work the team's put in. Yeah,
definitely. I'd agree with that. That, you know, you always hope that the amount of effort that you put in will be rewarded, and yeah, certainly there's been an upturn the second half of the season. I mean, for us, winning the FA Cup would be like an incredible end to the season, particularly for the difficulties that we faced on and off the pitch as a group of people here at Melwood. And like I've always said, the positive thing for me is to enjoy these moments, because under great pressure we have turned things round, and we still want to improve, we still want to get better. But I have to say that I have to give full credit to all of the people here, the way that we behaved and handled those situations, which you would never in a million years want anyone to go through. And for some, it can dwell longer than others, certainly. I can remember speaking to Fisk when we won against Spurs, and like the emotion of that game afterwards was just huge, because we'd suffered a lot. And we just felt that we weren't getting like the rub of the green and anything, and everything seemed to pile up for us. And again, nothing can prepare you for those situations, and you try and be as authentic and as honest and open as you possibly could. But I was so impressed with the way everybody here behaved, and of course, when you start now to get some reward for your performances and the hard work that you've put in, I think no one deserves it better than this group of players that we have.
Right, thank you. Well, best of luck this weekend.
Thank you. Cheers, Rachel.
Thanks, Rich. We'll come into the room with Steve Hunter from LiverpoolFC.com. Steve?
Gareth, I was going to ask you about your captain, Fisk. She's back from just a 1-game ban this weekend. In terms of leadership, I was going to ask you about that, about Fisk, because in your previous job you worked with some fantastic centre-backs, but I imagine with someone like Fisk, she's probably one, besides maybe Jan Falk, she's probably one of the first names on that team sheet. Yeah,
she's crucial, Fisk. I think she's impressed me a lot, both as a player and as a leader. I saw something in her when I first came into the building that always leadership you can see in many different forms. Some you see it outwardly, some inwardly, some on pitch, some off pitch. I just liked how well-rounded Grace was, and I think she's also a very good footballer. And of course, when I talk about what I was talking about with Rachel before, about the situations that we faced this season, God, I mean, for Fisky, we've had discussions around this about what a challenge to be captain of this club in these moments. And look, we're not unique to that. Every club has these situations they have to face. You know, last week, myself and Grace attended Anfield for the Hillsborough Memorial, and even though like Grace might have only just been born, I can remember exactly where I was when that happened. And yeah, I think these things make you come together, and I think that's what Grace does. She joins and gels people in the group. She's not the only one, but she's supported really well by the rest of the team, and I just think that what's impressed me most is her is the player that she is, and she's deservedly got England recognition. And when you consider the fact that she's probably played in a true position like once this season, and when I'd say once, I mean right-sided centre-back, played right back at the beginning of the season for us, has now developed into the left-sided centre-back, again, to help the team. And that speaks volumes, and she's not the only example of that. But I just feel that she should be really proud of the season that she's given to this club, because I think she's given a lot, and really excited about where we go from here.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Gareth.
No problem.
All the best Sunday.
Cheers, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, everyone. I think that concludes us for today. Thanks very much for coming on, and enjoy your football wherever you see it this weekend. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.